Joe Cullen is one of darts' most watchable, stylish and now successful players, and he's here today celebrating a new 5-year extension to his contract with Winmau. Joe, welcome. Just want to talk about, first of all, how pleased you are to sign with Winmau. It must be a signal that things are going well.
Yeah. I think, as you can see from the game, it's evolved since I've come here, and from day one with Lee, he got it right literally on day one. So it was just a no-brainer. It was. I don't want to be anywhere else, really.
What would you put it down to, this kind of rise that you've had? Because everyone's known for many years that you're a top player at your top level, but you've become a different beast, haven't you, in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's down to the barrel as well. I always leaded really well, to be fair, because I didn't actually know what to ask him for, and he just sort of experimented with a few things, and we got to the end product pretty quickly. So it was. It is the equipment, but obviously it's your mind as well. But if you feel comfortable with your equipment, your mind then does its own thing.
But just gives a few reflections of the first time you worked with Joe, looking at his old darts. What did you think he needed, and what did you give him?
I was just showing Joe now. I've been going back through some messages from before we even met. He was sort of started off sending some images, how he holds the dart. So I kind of made a few samples, sent a few images back and forth before you came down to the workshop, and that's when we identified then what areas we needed to focus on. A few more samples back and forth. Like I say, feedback from Joe was very good. Not always positive, but any feedback's positive, really. So when we sort of cracked the profile of it, and then it was sort of fine tuning, then sort of different width grooves and getting the diameter right and everything. And yeah, you knew straight away, didn't we? When we nailed it, and just been really exciting range to work on. Really, you can see this developed into some pretty exciting looking darts.
Did you immediately have this extra sort of percentage of belief when you started playing with the new darts and working with Winmau?
Yeah, maybe subconscious to start with. But I said to Lee that I felt like I held my dart different every time I threw, which is why sort of on the ones that I actually use, there's a scallop in the middle, so I know sort of exactly where my thumb and finger are every time. And I think that, rather than questioning if that's how you hold it, there's no questioning there, because it's the same spot every time.
And you've obviously been doing well on the European tour, but it was start of this year that you went on and won the Masters. Just give us a few memories of that tournament.
Yeah. Obviously, you text it tournaments in stages. You want to try get through sort of Friday to Saturday and then Sunday. And until sort of when I beat Mike in the quarters, I thought I was going to win it. I sort of knew I was going to win it, and like I say, as you could see. The year before was tough, obviously losing my mum and stuff. So to have my dad there, it made it even more special. So as you could probably see by the end, sort of the emotions got the better of me. But it's been a long time coming, and I've put the work in, and it shows, because, like I say, there's the results to speak for it.
And for you, Lee, and everyone at Winmau, how proud are you all? Because it's rare to get this kind of instant impact, isn't it?
Yeah, extremely. Obviously, we were well aware of Joe. We knew that he had tremendous ability, and that the titles were there. But to see such an instant impact, I think.
Even I was surprised, really.
Yes, I think almost first tournament after the launch, it was just like, wow.
I think I won a pro tour the first weekend I played with the Winmau dart. So
absolutely instant. Well, it's won a few more titles with other dart players as well. The same dart, it's been really, really successful. Dart range, really, not just the playing dart, but there's more to come as well, I think.
Just touched on it already, but from your perspective, what did you need to take from his old darts? What did you need to tweak to get that extra level out of him?
I think it's totally different, isn't it, really? What you
it's literally the same, maybe end, is it? I think the
rest
of it is different.
Kind of a slightly similar front nose, but I think the dart that you originally came with, I think we sort of just started with a clean sheet of paper and just went from the beginning. So we started off sort of getting the profile right, no grooves, no colouring, anything, getting the position of that. I mean, you were in the workshop and we were moving it forwards, back to try and get the right position, and then you need the depth of the scallop needs to be right. And then obviously you're looking for the colouring and trying to make it look like something that people want to buy and that Joe would want to use.
Yeah, I know style's important to you, Joe. So how much input did you have into the design of the aesthetically of the dart?
Actually, not much. Lee obviously I wear red and black, so I think Lee came up with it, and I literally just said, yeah, straight away. There was nothing, didn't question anything. I said, yeah, that's them. And it was just really that simple.
We spoke about the darts that you're using, how well they're fitted. Did you try anything that perhaps didn't work so well? How many different sort of things did you
Yeah, we had a pretty good relationship. We literally just said, look, don't be offended if I say that's rubbish. And we got to the end quicker. I think if you sort of skirt around the edges saying, oh, well, it's all right, or whatever else like that, then it's going to take a long time. So it was literally no, maybe, no. And we, like I say, we got it in, I think it was a day, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then it was kind of fine-tuning. And I just looking through my images now, and I sort of sent an image with four different sets laid out, like A, B, C, D, give me feedback on these. And then he'd come back, and then we go on to the next stage then, and really quickly we nailed it, I think, didn't we?
Yeah.
Can you remember that point when you nailed it and thought, right, these are the ones? Did you have that moment where you were
sure?
Yeah,
it's really strange because obviously the colouring doesn't make a difference about the dart, but I think when I first got the ones in colour, I'm like, oh, it felt like sort of part of me, if that makes sense. Whereas the other ones, you're just practicing with them and trying to, do bits and bats. But once the colouring came, I said straight away, that's them. And
it's beyond darts now as well. You've got quite the collection of different products. What do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, I've tried the second ones, and they love the dart, but just not for me. But the new ignition ones, I think I'm actually going to go and use these next year because they're really similar to my other ones, but I think they look a bit better. I think there's a bit more in them. So after the Worlds, I think I'll be using them going forward.
And he's got quite the fan club, hasn't he? I'm sure you get quite a lot of people buying not just darts but other Joe Cullen products as well.
Oh yeah, massively. Sort of, we got the cases, the shirts, and there's a big demand for Joe, especially since the Premier League, and it put your face out there even more. Like
yeah, it's a bit of a shame for probably Michael Van Gerwen. He's suffered because he's brought the trilogy ones out, but literally no one wants them. Everyone wants these ones.
Look, the darts do some of the work, but you do most of it yourself. Let's talk a little bit about your mindset and your throw now. We mentioned that word belief from Winmau in you and belief from you in the darts themselves. How much of an impact has that had in this kind of meteoric rise that you've had?
Yeah, but belief is massive. You'll see all the top boys mention that word quite a lot, and I think a lot of it is that. I think everyone says that the majority of darts is in the mind, and I just feel in a good place. Like I say, when I lost my mum, it was a tough year, but I just went on from that, and it made me just want to win even more, if that makes sense. It's just, and like I say, to have Winmau sort of backing me as well. Anything I want, I get. So I'm pretty. Can't think of the word. I'm pretty lucky in that sense.
And your throw itself, I mean, it's something that it looks very natural. Is it something that you have to work on? Has it changed, evolved over the years at all?
It probably subconsciously, yeah. I think a lot of players have. I'd ideally not like to be right out here, but to me it feels like I'm central. So if you start tinkering about where you throw, that's when a few things might come undone. So I've just what feels natural, and obviously with the Premier League and stuff this year, I've not had much time to think about sort of how I throw or anything like that, or even practice, because it's just been that constant.
For you, Lee, obviously the big part of a player's throw for designing darts is the grip. So what is Joe's grip? What's that kind of demands of Joe's grip put on you?
Well, you got different levels really. Like as Joe said, the Ignite dart. So similar scallop, but we've got milled cuts on the front radius and towards the back end. So again, we kept the theme of a very aggressive grip, nice wide grooves in the centre part, and a bit more aggressive and a bit more stylish on this one. Perhaps.
I think the points I use as well, Lee makes them custom just for me, because a lot of people ask, where can I buy them from? You can't actually buy them. Lee just does them himself. I think that's the only sort of thing that's really, really custom.
Yeah. So that's the same with a lot of players. I mean, the point length is really important, but that's a very small aspect of the throw. So it can be quite personal, and I put a certain amount of grooves in for the finger position, especially for Joe, and they need to be sort of deep and aggressive, probably a little bit more than we would put out, because obviously we got to be careful, on sort of things breaking and stuff like that. So I personally do Joe's points for him.
So just last thing on the throw and the darts, you're now obviously holding the darts in the same place all the time. You've still got that relaxed throw that you're well known for. You've put in some massive performances. How does it feel when everything clicks and it just seems like everything's going exactly where you want it? Yeah,
well, you sort of see it after a game because you don't remember much of the game because you was that just sort of engrossed in the game itself. And I think it's not thinking. It's just there's no better feeling to sort of look back on a performance and think, oh, that was pretty good. But I've had quite a lot of them this year, but I think when in regards to the Premier League as well, it's tough over that sort of constant weekly performances, and I think I found a few different ways to win, and I don't always have to be at my A game, so that's really pleasing as well.
And when you joined Winmau, the boards weren't Winmau boards in the PDC; they are now. How did you feel when that news broke?
Yeah, well, obviously we've all been used to playing on the other boards, and I thought they were okay. A lot of players had different qualms with them, but I think once the Blade 6 come, I think it just took it to a new level. And I actually weren't sure about the numbering, being dark, but I think it works. But that's the best board by a long, long, long way.
What's good about it for you? What stands out for you?
Well, it's nice and bright, and obviously it's got the PDC branding on there as well, which is new. And like I just said, that with the numbering, I actually thought it wouldn't work. I thought it should be white, and then once you throw on it, it's a little bit different, and it's just part of the board. There's nothing better than having like a brand new board to play on, and once one of those is up, it really gets you want to practice.
Interesting feedback. Not heard that one before about the numbering. What was your thinking behind that numbering?
Well, it was kind of aimed at the top level. I mean, it was supposed to be low resolution, sort of less distraction. That's why we went for the more subtle carbon colour, sort of a deep grey. These guys, they know where all the numbers are anyway, so they're not going to be searching for certain double. They know instinctively. So it was meant to be sort of less in your face. Then that was the thinking behind it.
And for you, just dealing with Lee and Winmau day to day, how's that for you?
It's easy. That's the best thing about it. You don't want any sort of relations to be strained. It's just really easy. They're all really nice people and a nice family. And like I say, Lee, he's the magician behind it all. Not just for me. Look at all the players and all the titles that Winmau players have won. So yeah, it's really easy.
Look, it certainly clicked, this relationship. Just one final thought on your career at the moment and in the future. In fact, I'll come to Lee first. So what are you expecting to see from Joe in the next year or two?
More titles. I mean, I think the Masters was probably overdue, the TV title, and then he sort of stepped up there and get into the Premier League final. I think definitely there's a few majors coming, definitely.
So.
And is that how you feel? You're one of the big boys now?
Yeah. Like one dart away from the Premier League as well. It just shows where I'm at. From not playing too great neither, but if you can do it on sort of playoff nights, that can sometimes be enough. And like Lee says there, I think winning the Masters, it was my first major final, and to win your first one, like you look at people like sort of Michael Smith, people like that who've maybe struggled to get over the line. So to do it in your first one, it just shows the next time I'll be in the position, I know I can win. So I think the next ones will be a little bit more easy because I had a bit of a flap at the end of that.
And the next big tournament, of course, is the World Championship. So final thoughts going into that one?
Yeah, well, I've had a pretty terrible record there to start with, but the last few years, I think I've found some sort of form there. Even sort of the games I've lost, I've still played pretty well. So I'm going in there thinking that I'm one of the favourites. As a lot of the boys are. So and I play late on as well, which is pretty good. You don't want to be playing opening night. You give the tournament a bit of time to sort of get going. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as the rest of us are.
As a wee good luck. Joe Cullen, looking good, playing good, and in good form ahead of the World Championship, and delighted that he'll be staying with Winmau for the foreseeable future.